Hi, everyone. I'm Bruce White from Fidelity Investments. Since 1965, the ACE Fellows Program has played a major role in expanding the pipeline of future higher education leaders. Of the more than 2,000 fellows to date, more than 80% have served as chief executive officers, chief academic officers, or in other cabinet level positions and deans. And there's not a more important component of the Fellows Program than the college and university presidents who serve as nominators and mentors to fellows. The Council of Fellows Mentor Award recognizes ACE member presidents and chancellors' contributions to enhancing the diversity and capacity of future leaders of American higher education. That's why we at Fidelity Investments are so pleased to support the Council of Fellows Fidelity Investments Mentor Award and to honor this year's recipient, President Jonathan Alger, James Madison University. So on behalf of ACE and Fidelity Investments, congratulations, President Alger.
Hi, my name is Sean Boyne. I had the privilege of serving as an ACE Fellow at James Madison University in the fall of 2018. I moved into my current position as Director of Academic Quality and Undergraduate Education at Iowa State approximately 1 year after my fellowship experience at James Madison. Iowa State is home of the Cyclones, and a cyclone is a great metaphor to describe the challenges facing higher education today. I am honored to be part of this presentation today because despite those strong headwinds, under President Alger's stewardship of James Madison University, JMU has launched many groundbreaking initiatives. From opening the doors of the institution to many first-generation students, to making JMU the model of the engaged university, to inculcating students with the skills to make ethical decisions. Under President Alger's leadership, JMU is truly a transformative institution. And I'll turn the virtual podium over to Bob Klein, another ACE Fellow.
Thank you, Sean. I had the privilege of being an ACE Fellow during the 2019-20 year. I'm part of the COVID cohort of ACE Fellows, and I was very proud to experience that at JMU and to observe the leadership of President Alger and Heather Coltman and others during that time. I returned to Ohio University, where I serve as professor and provost fellow for student success initiatives. Jonathan Alger is the 6th president of James Madison University, a public comprehensive university in Virginia with about 22,000 students. He became president in 2012. As Sean mentioned, he fostered a bold vision for becoming the national model of the engaged university, engaged with ideas and the world, and a strategic plan that focused on engaged learning, community engagement, and civic engagement. Under his leadership, JMU's Unleashed Capital campaign exceeded its initial goal and recently its amended goal of over $200 million. Alger is a nationally recognized scholar and speaker on higher education policy and law. President Alger holds a JD with honors from Harvard Law, and this has shaped his pathway to his presidency. Prior to coming to JMU, John served as Senior Vice President and General Counsel at Rutgers University, Assistant General Counsel at the University of Michigan, and has worked in the National Office of the American Association of University Professors and the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights. He continues to publish scholarly articles, serve on numerous national boards, and even teaches an undergraduate course every year, a course I had the privilege to attend alongside of President Alger. He's a devoted husband and father, deeply committed to his family and to the Harrisonburg community. He is also deeply committed to being a mentor and to the ACE Fellows program. He has served as a mentor for 6 fellows now, and we hope many more. I've been proud to call him my ACE mentor, and I consider our friendship and collegiality a true gift.
Well, thanks so much, Bob and Sean. It's great to be with you and really an exciting time to share this moment with you. And I I really would like to thank ACE and the Fellows Program for this humbling honor, and also Fidelity Investments for their generous sponsorship of this award. This really is an award that is meant to be shared. And so I want to acknowledge our entire leadership team here at James Madison University, our provost, Heather Coltman, who's been a great partner working with the fellows, our previous provost, Jerry Benson, who did likewise, and really all of our leaders across the university who have supported and worked with our ACE fellows. This kind of mentoring really is a team sport. And I also especially want to recognize the 6 ACE fellows who have served with me and my colleagues here at James Madison University. Nicole Parsons Pollard, Marcia Schmidt-Lane, Angela Radford Lewis, and Angela, as many of you may know, sadly passed away suddenly not long after her ACE fellowship. And she was a terrific colleague in this program. And so we certainly remember her today. Drita Kadriou, who was all the way from Kosovo, one of the first international fellows. And then, of course, Sean Boyne and Bob Klein, who are with us today. So I'm really grateful to have had the opportunity to work with all of you. You've all made significant contributions to our university.
Thank you, President Alger. I was hoping that you could tell us a little bit about where you find the motivation to host and to mentor an ACE fellow. It's a significant commitment, both financially and in terms of time, and it involves opening up and trusting fellows to a very significant degree. Could you comment on where that comes from?
Yes, well, I really do believe that this kind of mentoring is essential in higher education. If you think about the purpose of our institutions and our mission, it's all about sharing knowledge and insights with generations of students who will come after us and who will be confronted with the great challenges that we leave for them. So to put that another way, when you think about education, it really is all about relationships between people. That's how we learn, that's how we grow, and that's how we achieve our full potential. So, to me, when I think about these leadership positions in higher education, it needs to be about a calling, much more than just about a job. And that's where I think mentoring comes into play here. Certainly as an administrator, I think it's especially important for us to stay involved in that kind of relationship building. And that's the reason, frankly, why I've taught for so many years. I love interacting with students, and it keeps me in touch with that educational mission. And likewise, I feel the same way about the ACE Fellows Program and working with mentees in the ACE Fellows Program. I've always believed in higher education that our leadership needs to be about servant leadership, that mentoring is a great way to be of service to others who in turn, those mentees will be the servant leaders of tomorrow. And there's a multiplier effect in terms of the impact on so many other students and campuses. And certainly on a personal note, I would say I know how much I've benefited from having mentors throughout my career who've encouraged me to follow my dreams, and often who've seen things in me that I might not have seen in myself. And I think that's an important part of mentoring as well, is to help people to see and then realize their full potential.
Well, President Alger, I have a follow-up question to that. What made you decide to accept your first ACE fellow at James Madison?
Well, I'd heard a lot about this program at ACE conferences and was really intrigued to hear about the experiences of ACE fellows. And I really liked this idea as a way of interacting across traditional institutional boundaries. I had met a number of fellows and was certainly inspired by how they described their experience and the impact that the program had had on their careers. And I likewise heard that from presidents who had served as mentors. And, I reflected on how previous presidents, for example, the president of Rutgers, when I was working there on the senior leadership team, how they had been mentors to me in my own career journey. And so it seemed like being an ACE fellow mentor would be a great way to sort of pay it forward. And I have to say, our university has really benefited from the insights and the contributions of each of our ACE fellows. All of you have shared different perspectives and ideas, as well as a valuable set of eyes and ears from outside the institution. So I think we can all learn a lot from colleagues with experiences at other places.
President Alger, I'd like to follow up on the metaphor that Sean used earlier of the cyclone. I think that's an apt description of the turbulent times in higher education right now and the many challenges we face. How do you view the changes in higher education, the landscape of higher education, and public perceptions about higher education?
Well, we all know that we face a lot of big challenges right now, and I'm sure probably every generation of leadership feels that way. But for starters, we know there's a lot of distrust of institutions, including higher education, and of expertise right now in our society and our world. So we know we can't make everybody happy, that every decision that we make is going to be scrutinized by many different constituencies. And so one of the fundamental challenges we face right now is reminding people about why the educational mission is so important to our society, and of the value of things like facts, evidence, and research, right? The pandemic has certainly reinforced the need for our society to recognize the importance of those things. We're also, I think, very much a microcosm of what we're seeing in our society. So the political polarization and the big issues of the day are inevitably going to be reflected on our campuses. That's issues like systemic racism and economic inequality and climate change, just to name a few. Of course, those disagreements and challenges are going to play out on our own campuses. And a second component, I think, of these big challenges we face right now is that there's this growing perception that higher education is a private good for individuals rather than a public benefit. And that, of course, has led to a lot of public disinvestment, frankly, in higher education, which in turn has put a lot of the burden on families to cover the costs, which of course creates significant challenges to access to higher education. And going along with that public perception, I think there is this sense in many people's eyes that our mission is quite narrow, that really our sole purpose is to focus on job preparation and job placement. And of course, that's incredibly important. We want all of our students to be gainfully employed and to have good careers and to be well prepared for the workplace. But I think many of us also believe that higher education prepares students for lives of meaning and purpose, not just for jobs. And for these reasons, and I've talked about this a lot with our ACE fellows, that I think we need to focus in higher education leadership, not just on workforce preparation, but also on preparing students to live meaningful lives as citizens. And in our country, that means as citizens in a democratic society who have responsibilities as well as rights, responsibilities to use their education and their skills to make a positive difference in the world. And the last thing I would say, when you think about what we're facing right now in higher education, even in my 9 years as president, I've seen a big change in the pace of the work, that it is just intense and unrelenting with the challenges that come at us. And certainly in this age of social media, which again is something that we've talked a lot about with our fellows and with leadership. There's not a lot of time for reflection when you're constantly being pressured to make statements and to make decisions and to react instantaneously to things that confront us. And so there are no shortage of challenges, but that's why it's that much more important for us to develop these relationships across institutions and to have mentors in our lives. And all of us need those at every stage of our careers.
Well, thank you, John, for that inspiration about your leadership style. One question that I have is, we've all been under stress this past year because of COVID, and the position of a university president, as you mentioned, is one that's really at the center of making sure that the community is healthy. How do you manage your own stress, and what do you do for self-care?
That's such an important question, Sean, and I'm glad you raised this whole issue of stress and self-care, because the reality is that we've watched, especially during this pandemic, the mental health strains in addition to the physical things that so many people have to deal with. But that mental health challenge for everybody is so significant now, our students, but also our faculty and staff. And of course, that's true throughout society. It's not just unique to higher education, but it's certainly having an impact on all of us, and certainly all of us in leadership. So it really is important to ask yourself that question in leadership about how do you sustain yourself and the team around you for this marathon. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon of not just working through the pandemic, but of leading our institutions through times of turmoil and rapid change. So for me, and you know, I don't always practice what I preach as well as I'd like, and I'm still very much a work in progress like all of us, but I really try to lean first of all on friends and family. I think that is so important to have people outside of work that don't care about your job title, so that you can kind of leave that behind and have people that support you, that help you to think about other things that are so important in life. And for me, my wife and daughter are really central in that. We love to travel when we can. We love simple things like going swimming and just going to concerts and theater, again, when you can, but if not, at least being able to share some of those things virtually. But it's really important to be able to unplug, to get away from your campus once in a while, and just to think about something else. You know, watching movies. I love movies that take you to faraway places and to very different kinds of experiences and adventures, because I think when you can take that step away, then when you come back to your job, you can be more focused. And often that's when you can gain insights and perceptions about the big picture. But if you're always dealing with the minutia that are coming across your desk and the crisis of the day, it's hard to develop that big picture perspective. And we need other people to help us do that. All of us do as leaders. I actually have a group of other presidents and leaders that we talk about once a month. And right now, like everybody else, we're doing it via Zoom, but it's almost like a therapy session for us. There's no agenda other than just sharing what's on your minds and hearts. What are the challenges that we're all facing? You know, sharing ideas about how to keep going during all of this. And those kinds of conversations can be really helpful for presidents and for all of our ACE fellows. So I'd really encourage all of us to keep thinking about that idea of self-care and also care for the teams and the people around us. You know, having a sense of humor, being forgiving, extending grace to people around you. All of us are going to have bad days. None of us wants to be judged by our worst moments. And we all need to lift one another up, especially at this time and in the kind of environment in which we find ourselves.
Thank you, President Alger. Do you have any final remarks or words? Well,
I just first of all want to thank Bob, you and Sean both for being a part of this today. And certainly thanks again to ACE and all of the ACE fellows and mentors. I do want to take this moment to encourage presidents around the country to serve as mentors to ACE fellows and to nominate colleagues for this program. It really can be life-changing, and it's great for all of the institutions involved. Everybody learns and benefits from this kind of exchange and sharing. And to me, the work of mentoring really does represent the heart of the mission and purpose of higher education. And I'm really grateful to be a part of it. So this is a great program, and I hope that many more people will get to participate in the future.
Well, thank you very much, President Alger. And thank you, Bob, for being my co-host.
Thank you, Sean.